Hi all, how you all doing? It is the 4th of October 2023 and we're taking a look at Typhoon Koinu, which is approaching southern Taiwan as a major hurricane strength system. Let's take a look at it. First of all, we caught these impressive Sentinel-2 imagery from the morning of the 4th of October, this morning, as Typhoon Koinu reached Category 4 intensity. This is the satellite-derived intensity product, which shows the evolution over time, and you can see that it was major hurricane intensity back on October 2nd, dipped down a bit, and then has re-intensified back up to be a Category 4 system. At the last advisory at 06 UTC today, JTWC, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, had the storm at 115 knots, 1 minute sustained, which makes it a Category 4, as we mentioned. The storm is forecast to weaken a little bit, but still make landfall as a Category 3 hurricane strength system, right on the southern tip of Taiwan, by the looks of this track. Of course, we always have to check in on our old friend, the Hurricane Wharf, which has the storm here initializing at over 100 knots, and then moves through pretty much direct westward track, tipping, just hitting directly on the southern tip of Taiwan, and you can see the winds in the Hurricane Wharf are still at over 100 knots, looks like 110. So it is, in this model at least, Category 4, and you see some weakening as the storm passes and interacts with the mountains. We'll see circulation disruption, but because the storm is largely, the core at least, is largely missing the mountains, you do see this core remaining intact and contracting a bit, remaining at Category 1 intensity once it enters the Taiwan Strait. The storm then passes across the Taiwan Strait, maybe a slight bit of intensification, well, it's marginal, stays the same in the Hurricane Wharf, but then makes landfall on mainland China, and that is October 7th. Interestingly, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center actually have this track just missing the coast and weakening to tropical storm strength, the mainland China coast that is, and then going along the coast towards Hong Kong. Given the amount of topography involved, the Taiwan mountains, and then the coastal land and the time frame, probably this is highly uncertain. Let's take a look back at how we got here. The storm actually developed down further to the south, and that was around the beginning of October, just a few days ago, and then it did this intensification and then slight weakening before re-intensifying, perhaps an eyewall cycle. If we take a look at the winds back on the 1st of October, and we're looking at winds at 5,500 meters, 500 hectopascals, and you can see a couple of mid-tropospheric anticyclones up here, and this is why the storm has been moving first of all towards the north, because these have been helping to push it northwards. The very distinct eye, very symmetrical, is being caught by the Taiwan weather radar, and if you're getting a sense of deja vu, yes, Typhoon Haikui a month ago or so, last month anyway, took a very similar track and we had a very similar radar loop. So it's the second landfall in this year on this section of Taiwan. This one is a bit further to the south, with Haikui making landfall around up here. So slightly different area. But because the storm is staying away from, or just clipping the end of the mountain range, the impacts from the mountain range may be a little bit less in terms of disruption to the core. Here is the track guidance from about 11 hours ago. There is actually some disagreement as to where the storm will make landfall in southern Taiwan, and this could make a huge difference on the influence that the mountains play on the storm. If it takes this northern track, then we would see a greater impact from the mountains, weakening the storm more when it reaches the Taiwan Strait, whereas the southern track will have less of a mountain influence and the storm could be stronger, causing damage, more severe damage on the southern tip of Taiwan. And as we saw with Haikui, once we're into the Taiwan Strait, it's very uncertain. Haikui actually went a bit north, had large impacts in this area of mainland China, which was not well forecast by the models. But at least at the moment, the main impact on mainland China looks to be this area and possibly into Hong Kong, unless it takes the southern track, in which case it avoids landfall entirely on mainland China. Extreme rainfall from the storm is expected over the southern tip of Taiwan as this storm passes over. This is the next 24 hours. We see the storm impact spreading up the eastern coast of Taiwan as it hits the mountains as well. But it's really the core of the storm which has some really extreme totals in the European Center model, getting up to close to half a meter. Well, half a meter actually is the amount. It's a bit less up the mountain range, but heavy rain stretches all the way up as those winds slam into the central mountain range. While it's too uncertain at this point, the heavy rains and extreme rains of over half a meter are currently being forecast approaching the coast of China in the days ahead. This is the 5-day total rainfall. The storm is being fueled by very warm waters of around 30 Celsius in the region, and if we look at the sea surface temperature anomalies, generally speaking, it's all above normal, with just a tiny few pockets that are below normal. These are temperatures of the ocean around 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above the normal. And that is about all I have for the moment on this storm. This is the view from just a couple of hours earlier from the Himawari 9 satellite of the storm approaching southern Taiwan. Please stay tuned to Twitter, join our Discord, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.